Up next, we're going to run through some crazy media stories because our favorite figures keep making statements that make headlines, and we'll start with a positive one that I agree with from Bill Maher, the liberal-leaning comedian who often calls out woke BS, and I think generally is a interesting voice. And then we're going to get to a latest update from Crazy Candace, where she said something just hilariously embarrassing on social media and is getting fact-checked. First, though, the Bill Maher story here. Bill Maher warns Democrats they need to demand celebrities, quote, shut the F up if they're going to win elections. Bill Maher warned Democrats that they need to order liberal celebrities to shut the F up if they have any hope of winning future elections. Maher, the host of HBO's Real Time and the podcast Club Random, told the California Post on Monday that outspoken celebrities are a detriment to the left. Hollywood, and this is a quote from him, is sort of the epicenter of the woke left. I don't think they're doing the Democratic Party any favors, the comedian said. I think if Democrats want to win elections in the future, job one, tell the celebrities to just shut the F up. You're not helping. You don't strike people in most of the country as sensible or in touch with reality. I have to say, this is one of Bill Maher's takes that I appreciate. Obviously, I disagree with him on lots of things. He's still fundamentally a Democrat and liberal in many ways, but that's fine. We can have that difference of opinion. I find the celebrities, even on the occasion where they're posting about something that I agree with, I still find their yapping annoying and their virtue signaling annoying. And it's like, even if they're saying something I agree with in some cases, I'm like, they make me want to not because they're so out of touch and so obtuse. And I completely agree. I mean, think of how Kamala Harris had every celebrity, A-listers, backing her up. And ask yourself honestly, did that help her or did that hurt her? I think we all know the answer if we're keeping it 100. And I'm sorry, I don't believe for a second that these people know anything of value, right? Like many of them didn't go to college or high school or finish high school. And that doesn't mean you don't know anything, but it's not like they spent the time doing other things that would acquire them insight into political issues. They spent it like reading lines someone else wrote on a screen or singing songs someone else wrote. And again, I'm not even shading them for their work. It's fine. But it's like, I actually am a believer in the stay in your lane, shut up and dribble idea that maybe we don't need to hear professional athletes' theories about economics and world affairs. Now, I will say that Republicans can be hypocritical about this because when LeBron James is out here saying some liberal stuff, they say, shut up and dribble, stick to sports. But the absolute minute a C-list celebrity says, something conservative politically, they love that. And they suddenly love athletes or celebrities being political. So they can be, many people, not all, but many people on the right can be hypocritical about that as well. But I think he's absolutely correct. Like the less celebrities come out here and say, abolish ICE and get rid of it altogether. Yeah. And take these extreme stances. Yeah. If you actually want Democrats to win, that's probably not the way to go about it. But they don't listen to Bill Maher. If they did, the party would be in a more sane and normal place. Now, we got to get to the latest absurd thing that Candace Owens has said. First, though, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, yada, yada, yada. Guys, I have a kind of embarrassing confession to make. I only read about 10 books in all of 2025, but I'm determined to dedicate more time and more energy to reading in 2026. Yet after being bombarded all day with email newsletter updates and reading news articles, I find it hard sometimes to sit down and pour through a 500-page nonfiction book, which is why discovering today's sponsor, Shortform, was such a godsend. Shortform produces super high-quality guides to nonfiction books. Their guides are like super-powered book summaries, comprehensive coverage of all the book's key ideas, clearly and simply explained, plus smart commentary and analysis. It's like your smartest friend teaching you about a book, taking minutes instead of hours. For example, I wanted a refresher on one of my favorite political books that I haven't read in a few years, Basic Economics by the economist Thomas Sowell. But the actual book runs over 700 pages, and I don't quite have time to pour over that all again. But using Shortform, I was able to read through all the main ideas and insights from this classic in like 20 minutes. So join me in fighting back against our destroyed attention spans and terrible doom-scrolling habits. Check out Shortform now. to focus your mental energy on learning and reading in the new year. Go to my link now, shortform.com/Polumbo, to try it out for free and get $50 off an annual subscription. Now, guys, let's check in with Candace Owens, the YouTube star and conspiracy theorist and podcast extraordinaire. And listen, I covered her a lot lately. I didn't want to do a full segment dedicated to just this. But remember, Miss doesn't believe in dinosaurs and can't tell the text messages from Discord messages and all this. Well, she's just made another mistake that's actually beyond parody. Like, I would have thought this was a Babylon Bee headline, the conservative satire website, but it's a real headline. Again, here from Mediaite. Candace Owens baffled by ice not melting at 30 degrees. Hint, it's below the freezing point. Oh God, this is a real thing that happened. So obviously there's this massive winter storm across the country. Not that I would know anything about that here in Miami, where we actually had beach and pool days several days this week. So hope you're having fun shoveling snow out there. My fans, my friends. Love that for you. Sorry, I'm being a little bitch today. But anyway, Candace is living in Tennessee, I believe, and they must have had snow. So anyway, here is the tweet that she put out. Back online after internet blackout. I grew up in Connecticut and have truly never seen an ice like this ever. The temperature is 30 degrees, but the ice on our trees' tops is not melting at all. Never seen anything like this. Anybody else? Oh my gosh. So, it may be, Candace, that the ice on the top of your trees is not melting at 30 degrees because it's 32 degrees is the temperature at which ice and snow would melt. And it's colder than that. And she's like low-key, if you look at the context of the other things she's tweeted and saying, she's almost suggesting that this is like some kind of geoengineered storm or part of one of these conspiracies about controlling the weather or all this. And it's like, or it could be that snow doesn't melt if it's colder than the temperature that snow melts at. Oh my gosh. But she followed this up with another tweet. Quote, I will take a video to show you guys what I mean, but it's almost like dry ice. And it's taking out an absurd amount of trees. Again, 30 degrees and none of the ice is dripping from the tree. 30 degrees and none of the ice is dripping from the trees. She's saying that like that shouldn't be the case, but that's literally exactly what should be the case. You cannot make this up. I mean, I know she doesn't believe dinosaurs are real, and she is, my favorite Candace thing is she says she's not a flat earther or a round earther. She's just asking questions. I'm pretty sure she said that. But we're still waiting on that video. It's now a day later, and she has not posted this video explaining what she meant or why she thinks it's dry ice. Like, yeah, they put in the weather machines, the Jews installed in the clouds or whatever, to rain down dry ice on your trees. And to make them fall. Like, what even is the theory? It's like low-key difficult to understand. Anyway, one piece from the Mediaite article of like, she tried to explain this because it's super duper serious and real. And she said, Owens responded to one user who told her about the melting point, saying she should have been clearer in her post. On my deck, it's always about 10 degrees warmer than the temperature because of the sun, she explained. We'll drop a video because we have a temperature gauge on the deck. Stand by. She posted that at 10:29 a.m. Eastern Time and had not posted an explanatory video by 3:30 p.m. And now I've actually checked, it's the next day, and she still has not posted this video showing us her temperature gauge and how this ice is not melting even though it's above 32 degrees because of the sun. Of course, at the top of trees might actually be colder than on the ground anyway, because it gets colder as you go up. Maybe it's not enough to make a difference. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a meteorologist, and I can't really claim to understand these things thoroughly. But if she really had this this proof that like, well, we have a temperature gauge and it's always warmer on my deck, so I will be dropping a video. She even said stand by, like it's coming in minutes. Well, it's now been over a day, so still waiting on that. Honestly, I think the more likely explanation is that this is just a very, very gullible person. Like, she really does. If there's one word I had to pick to describe Candace Owens, I would say gullible. She just like falls for things very easily. For the just asking questions girl, she asks like very few questions when it comes to just accepting a conspiracy. She asks every question under the sun, including questions that don't make sense, when it comes to finding a reason to reject like obvious or most likely explanations or official establishment answers about what happened. And to be clear, I'm not somebody who thinks those are always right or always true, but then the critical thinkers like then apply no critical thinking at all to the conspiracy theory at all. They just like, they pick apart every possible hole in the mainstream explanation to something, but then pick apart no holes, even obvious holes in their counter theories and explanations. I don't know. I find the whole thing to be bizarre, but I do find her to be endlessly entertaining. I have to say, like, I love me some Candace Owens in terms of the same way that I used to like to watch messy reality TV shows. Like I was 12 years old and I was watching Mob Wives on Bravo or whatever because it's entertaining. But the fact that for millions of Americans and millions of people worldwide, she is actually considered a serious and credible source of information. No, that's not a laughing matter at all, guys. Not at all. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, hit the like button. Yada, yada, yeah.